Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. Dear friends, the theme or the topic that I chose for tonight, I gave it the name of Nourishing the Roots, setting up the conditions for success in our practice, and without grasping or forcing, allowing our practice to open up and mature in its own time, according to the causes and conditions, but knowing that we have the possibility to find out how to set up the right conditions for success and how to plant and nourish and sustain all those good conditions. We have a couple of miniature Bodhi trees at our monastery, which are in large pots, and for much of the year they stay outside, except when the weather is extremely severe or coming to a frost. This previous winter, our Bodhi trees got a bit of a shock with some cold weather, and then they were sort of like weak and vulnerable. After that, it took them a long time in the spring to recover themselves, and then even so, they were getting some kind of rest or something like that. So we had to call in an expert, a friend of ours who really understands the care and cultivation of Bodhi trees, and she explained to them that it wasn't going to work to just try to focus on the disease that was attacking the leaves of the Bodhi tree, but instead the overall strength and health of the tree itself. So if the tree becomes strong and vibrant, then the tree will be able to take care of its own health. And she gave some kind of special fertilizer to those trees, and they did amazingly recover themselves to full strength. And for the past I don't know how many months, like more than 6 months or so, both of those trees have been so just in beautiful, vibrant, luxurious health. And it's been such a joy to watch them. So here, we had a teacher, somebody who knew how to add the right nutriment to make it possible in the course of nature for those trees to overcome the challenges of a disease or insects or a fungus or whatever is floating around in the world that could harm a tree, that the strong, healthy tree is able to take care of itself. And so just the same way as we've been going through this course on the path to stream entry, we're seeing this is the prescription, the right fertilizer that we can add to nurture the a capacity of each person in their heart and mind to be able to grow and evolve and develop away from dukkha and towards the realization of wisdom and freedom. So we began by acknowledging the importance of true friendship, or being in the presence of that true person, especially that Samma Sambuddha, that fully realized one who's discovered the way and is capable of explaining it. And then through the disciples of the realized Buddha, those disciples who are also sincere and authentic in their practice, who have realized something for themselves, who are capable of accurately representing what the Buddha was pointing to, without falsifying the path and those teachings. So that's the first kind of fertilizer. And then hearing the true Dhamma and listening to the true Dhamma at the level of words and ideas, and then practicing with that true Dhamma, making the effort, which could even at the first be something that's more cumbersome and artificial while we're learning these methods, which may be opposite to our natural conditioning, so that then to be slow and mindful as we go throughout the day, to be paying attention to the posture of the body and to the state of the mind, and paying attention to what our intentions are, what we're aiming to accomplish each time we take some action or do some speech. That's all quite could be quite artificial and cumbersome at the beginning, but then as we develop the skillfulness with those practices, then those ways become intuitive. They become like fully learned and integrated internally, so that then we don't have to be like constantly talking to ourselves and reminding ourselves what to do. Instead, it just comes about naturally, that one is able to, in a way, like while keeping an inner silence, to sustain these right factors of behavior. Then the sequence, this is the building the block, one thing after another. The Buddha teaches many different kinds of sequences that could be called you could say the gradual training, that are in some cases, some of the teachings that we see are not so much like one thing after another. They could be more like a soup, and that there's a bit of like a lemon in the soup and a bit of salt in the soup and maybe a bit of vegetable flavor or something in the soup, and so you can't really say, does the salt come before the lemon or after the lemon when you're taking a sip of soup, because they're all blended together. But then in many other cases, the teaching is given in a kind of a sequential pattern. It's not to say that one should get too like materialistic about it and think that you have to become like completely perfected in right view before you're able to establish right intentions. And then you have to become fully developed in right intentions to develop before you're able to begin to straighten out your morality. Instead, the things are in a way working together, but as you're kind of like stepwise developing the different aspects and features of your personal trajectory, your personal path, you can see how one thing supports another, and the next thing supports something else, and then it becomes like a sequence. And it could be that there are some parts of the Dhamma that you might have heard about when you were a beginner, and that just didn't really seem like something that you would be able to personally realize and manifest internally through your direct experience. And those things you had to, in a way, you could be kind of like set them aside. That you do listen to these ideas. You do like memorize and ponder about these ideas, but it may be that later on, through some kind of like a evolution of your practice, that later on it opens up for you, and then you have that experience of being able to directly experience, oh, that's what the Buddha was pointing to. So in the particular sequence that we've been going through during this winter retreat, after hearing the true Dhamma, then one practices this yoni so manasikara, this wise reflection, to examine our own direct experience, and also even directing outside, looking at the world around us, or looking at the teachings that we've heard about, looking at anything that we can encounter, looking at it in a way which is appropriate, thorough, and deep, not just latching onto something at the surface, but instead looking more deeply, and paying attention in that kind of a deep way. That may include paying attention to the causation aspect, how one thing leads to another, how one thing supports another, or how, there's some phenomenon that's happening saying, oh, I'm really upset right now. I'm really suffering right now. I'm like emotionally painful or something like that, or even I'm physically painful. And then one might then investigate that in terms of causation, say, well, where is this coming from? What are the conditions that made this arise? And if it's possible to shift the conditions, then can what we're experiencing also be shifting? So that's all part of that yoniso manasikara. And then or the next part that we were talking about is this Dhamma Anudhamma Patipatya, or practicing the Dhamma in alignment with the teachings. And this brings us to, in particular, looking at the Eightfold Path and making the effort to cultivate them in sequence, and to cultivate all the parts of the Eightfold Path, not omitting any of those parts. it's said in the sequence, now we're up to the topic of this week. It's said in the sequence that this practice of the Dhamma is creating a supporting condition for three kinds of skillful actions. Somehow or other, an aspect of this Dhamma Anudhamma is that one can see how some behavior and some ways of thinking are really toxic for us, are really keeping us going around on our neurotic merry-go-round of suffering, really just building up more misery for ourselves and for others around us, and then developing what's called hiri otapa, moral shame and moral fear, where we don't want to do that anymore. We feel actually even kind of like a repulsive, that to think the kind of poison thoughts that are poisoning our mind is just as repulsive as taking some kind of a intoxicating drug which is causing heedlessness, or taking some kind of an actual poison, and we say, we don't want that. That's that moral shame, and then seeing the results, seeing the consequences, saying, well, as a rational, wise, prudent person, I have, because I possess a conscience, I can choose to make choices that are supportive of peace and happiness. And realizing that we've got the power and the agency to make that kind of choice, then we can start to bring this otapa, this consideration about the consequences, to bear on it. And even in situations that are maybe not immediately apparent, like what's the most skillful way to go in this particular moment, being able to think, with more wisdom and more foresight and understanding as best we can the best kind of choice, and at least understanding that when our intentions are pure and we made the best estimate that we could about whether it's the right time and place, whether it's got the suitability, whether it's skillful, in this circumstance, to go about it in such and such a way that as long as our intentions were good, even if we can't absolutely judge how things are going to land, even for our own internal development, we make the best choice we can with the best possible intention for the welfare of us and others. And then this supports the three kinds of skillful actions: the actions of the body, speech, and mind, which are skillful and conducive to happiness. And then it says in the suttas that the three kinds of skillful action are the supporting conditions, or the proximate cause for the practice of the foundations of mindfulness. And then the practice of the foundations of mindfulness is the cause or the supporting condition, the proximate cause for the arising of the factors of awakening. So this is the part that I I kind of wanted to delve into a little bit more. How is it that skillful action leads one to practicing satipatthana meditation on the foundations of mindfulness? And I'm going to turn to a sutta that I think gave me a clue about it. This is about bright and dark deeds. And the theory I have is that all of the faculties of the mind that we have, and even the living body that we have, like the nature of the human living body, and our capacity for feeling, intention, emotion, perception, how the consciousness arises, which contact the whole ball of wax in terms of how the mind operates, that it's very useful to inquire, like, why, for what purpose is this body doing what it does? For what purpose are the feelings and emotions doing what they do? For what purpose is the mind fabricating ideas and intentions? And I say to you that the Satipatthana Sutta is actually a way of doing your direct firsthand experiment to consider, in the light of the Dhamma, for what purpose the body is doing what the body does, for what purpose the feelings are doing what feeling does, for what purpose the mind does what mind does. And it could be said that when the delusion of self is in control, it all operates in a certain way. And when the delusion of self is not in control, then the faculties of the mind and body are still operating, but it's got a completely different kind of a significance. Those who know me are aware that for a long time I studied the 5 khandhas of clinging, which is the Buddha's summary of dukkha, how the body, the feeling, the perceptions, the volitional formations, and cognizance itself are, when clung to, are the cause of suffering. There's another way of looking at it, as when it says panch upadana. The upadana has a double meaning. The second meaning is the fuel for existence. And so in the presence of delusion, when clung to, these things are all the fuel for existence, meaning that the body wants to continue the life of this individual for a while longer. Or you want to say it wants to, you said the operation of the living body has the function, it has the result of supporting, continuing the existence of the individual, continuing its existence. And the feeling, the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling has a very powerful role in helping us to continue our existence for a little bit longer, enabling us to eat the strawberry and don't eat the poison mud because of feeling. Because if there's a bus rolling down the street and we're standing in the middle of the street, it's a feeling that helps us to jump aside. So then, likewise, the perceptions, the way we perceive things, it's kind of like it's arbitrary, isn't it? That with all the massive phenomenon that's coming at us, why we like separate them out in this certain kind of like a particular way, and we create the map of the world and sort the different objects into the internal map that we have, and it's a map that's relevant to what is needed to continue the existence of this individual for a little while longer. Likewise with the volitional formations and with this, the way the mind cognizes, all of it serves to support getting some more life. And then as the evil twin of this natural process comes as sort of as a side effect, is the idea of the self, which then comes to be built up and developed within our psychology as something that we need to nurture the self and take care of the self, and we need to have a good, strong, healthy self, and we need to protect the self from any kind of injury. And if somebody insults the self, then we become extremely active and protective, and so even we have our autobiographical self that we can remember, and not only do I remember the scenes from my childhood and mom and dad and all of those kind of things, but then I studied I came to learn about the history of the society of my parents and my grandparents and my great grandparents, and we got a family tree, and I know that my ancestors were Welsh and Irish, and how all the wars that happened in the olden days, and how my ancestors were oppressed, and how they suffered, and so on, and even my father made for a while that my parents got into this genealogy kick, and my father made a very humorous family tree. He got it back to certain very old ancestors who then subsequently had a mythological ancestry that they could trace, so that we could trace our family roots back to Moses. So this is how much we enjoy having a self, and how it makes us feel safe in terms of being able to continue our existence a little bit longer. So then the four foundations of mindfulness, in particular the first three, the first three, they're kind of like two separate groups, the first three, and then the fourth foundation is a somewhat of a different kind of a project. but the investigating the body, the feeling, and mind is a way to blast away the delusion of self, to make it, to make that delusion to crash and burn, to find out how, what a weak figment of the imagination this idea of the self is. Even part of what I was trying to induce during the guided meditation about the breath is that if you take the breath apart from the context, so in ordinary life, we've got this context, sort of like, you know, I'm upright and the floor is below and the ceiling is above, and you know, the people are around, and my chores and my jobs are around, and all of this, so I can be like orientated to reality and in terms of all the surrounding things. But then if you forget about and set aside all those other things, and then you just have the sensation of breath apart from all of that orientation, then it becomes kind of disassociated or disconnected from all of the orientation that is supporting the concept of self, and that by itself is, I think, the reason why meditation is powerful. And then it's possible to investigate the, let's say, the body. Here's an idea that is being promoted by Bhikkhu Chintita. He was from Texas, but he might be in Minnesota right now. But he's written a series of articles about. He's writing a book about mindfulness, and he's got the idea that the internal and external, that the internal is like the subjective experience that we have with the body, the feelings, and so forth, and external is like the objective view. If you were like step apart from your own body and look at yourself in the mirror, and see the body as an object. So that external view has got a lot of assumptions which are not necessarily true. So when you try to compare the subjective and objective and say, well, which one is real, then the whole concreteness and simplicity of saying this body as just being a solid, unchanging object breaks up, and the body, seems to be just a series of like a moments of experience or moments of phenomena that are passing through like a flowing river or like a flock of birds. And with something as solid as the body, then all the more so with Vedana and with the mind, with the chitta. So but we have these things. We have a body and we have feeling and we have a mind. They serve to support us to do things. So because of all of the faculties we've got, we are continuously doing actions and creating karma. And when the karma we do is supported by the delusion of the self, then those karmas are likely to be unskillful. So you've got like what I was trying to point to at the beginning, like the living body is just kind of operating in a way that does results in the continuation of the existence of this individual. But then when I bring my intention, my intentional choices are the actions that I am choosing to do in relationship to this body. And then when I'm trying to protect and nourish and take care of this body because I want more existence, then something has been added, which is the creation of karma. When the creation of karma is based on the delusion, then it will result in the sutta I'm going to read you. It's very short. What are the dark deeds with dark results? It's when somebody makes hurtful choices by way of body, speech, and mind. Having made these choices, they're reborn in a hurtful world. In that hurtful world, the hurtful contact strikes them. Touched by hurtful contacts, they experience hurtful feelings that are exclusively painful, like a being in hell. These are the dark deeds with dark results. So that existence in hell, the hellish existence, that's the kind of existence that you bought when you chose to undertake those dark deeds. And then similarly, the bright deeds with the bright results. When you take harmless or beneficial choices with body, speech, and mind, then you will be reborn into a pleasant world where pleasant contacts strike them. And then, touched by those pleasant contacts, they experience pleasant feelings that are exclusively pleasant, like the beings in heaven. And then there are the mixed deeds, which result in being like a being who's in a place like this earth, the Kamaloka, which has a mixture of pleasant and unpleasant experiences. But there's a fourth option, and that is the neither dark nor bright deeds with neither dark nor bright results, which leads to the ending of deeds. It's the intention to give up the dark deeds with dark results and to give up the bright deeds with bright results. And to give up the mixed deeds with mixed results. So one is giving up making choices to do deeds that result in creating more existence. And this leads to the ending of deeds. So that's one kind of way of describing or formulating the aim of this practice and the realization of the end of the cycle of rebirth. So then all of the faculties that we have, that we had before, are still operating as long as we've got a life left to live. But it's possible to discover by way of meditation this way of abandoning having any intention towards keeping this life going and getting more life. Just the life will just go on by itself. It doesn't require our intention, our desire for further existence. Is not required for the remaining number of hours, minutes, days, or years that we have left in this lifespan to play themselves out. So then I just am feeling that the three kinds of actions the three kinds of skillful actions from body, speech, and mind, and really like making the investigation about karma and causation. It's like the part of our practice where we can cut our suffering in half by giving up evil, unwholesome deeds that cause us pain and suffering, and by learning how to recognize and to realize what's a beneficial, harmless, bright, and kind deed, which is bringing peace and happiness for ourselves and also to all the other beings whom we encounter may experience some kind of at least that they won't be harmed by us, and they could even be helped by us by the way that we manifest what we've developed. But then there's kind of like a limit to how much benefit one can get from ethical behavior. We need to go beyond that. And then the Satipatthana, by providing the very practical and skillful way of contemplation that encourages to really just investigate, look and see just what's really happening. What is it really like with this body, with the feeling that arises, that's the sensation, or that arises with each contact, and the characteristics of the knowing faculty of the mind itself, or the qualities of the mind, and seeing the impermanence. So in the sutta it says, see the arising, see the cessation, see both the arising and the cessation. So the refrain in the Satipatthana is with each one of those, see how rapidly, how quickly it's changing, and then seeing how the this internal and external, if it were true that having like a external or a so-called objective a picture of each thing that we experience is in some way taking us like 6 degrees away from the actuality of the thing itself which we experienced, and seeing even see the danger, like how from taking that external type view that's creating the appearance of something that's like a compact essence of each thing that we're experiencing, that can be taking us like down the road towards creating a self, and which is taking us towards having more fuel for more existence, and just seeing, just investigate, just find out, and then the last part of that refrain is to simply being aware there is a body, and in this case, I personally, I believe this is, I stepped away from what Bhikkhu Chintita writes, but I feel that it's this way of stepping outside of the process of life where the natural operation of this body-mind is going towards getting more resistance, and just saying, okay, I don't have to choose that. I can just be neutral towards that process of getting more resistance, and just allow nature to play out and take its course. So let the mind does what the mind does, let the body do what the body does, and let ethics guide me in the choices that I shall make. But even when I need to make choices, like what to speak about at the Dhamma talk tonight, okay, that was a choice I had to make. So I wasn't choosing it because I want more resistance. I was just choosing it to try to help you out and try to help myself out by becoming a bit more clear with my own understanding. And so then in that way, I'm trying to position the Satipatthana on this particular trajectory of this gradual training. So, oh, what's the Satipatthana good for? How does the Satipatthana take me to stream entry? Okay, well, I told you, it's because it has the potential to destroy the delusion of self. So this concludes my formal remarks, and I shall now welcome any comments or questions that anybody may have about that. I hope that this was coherent. Okay, Damon.
Thank you. Yeah, so about being neutral and letting the body do what it does. What about applying that in the case where you get ill and you are offered some treatments that could prolong your existence? Then what do you do in terms of making a decision? If you're neutral about it, then you just flip a coin in the air, right? Just flip a coin to see whether you're going to do the treatment or not.
Right. Well, there could be a lot of factors that would come to choose whether to accept medical treatment. We have like a good example. Ayya Khema had cancer towards the end of her life, and she felt that the side effect of the cancer treatment was going to be very destructive for her peace of mind, for her clarity, and for her practice. And she just made the choice to take palliative care and to allow the cancer to take its course. And so that's a possibility. And, you know, like modern medicine is so like our modern ethics are so unclear that it would be like it's kind of shocking or unusual for people to say that they would allow an illness to take its course like that. So it's like a kind of like weighing out what, you know, like the things we've undertaken, the responsibilities we've undertaken. The Buddha, after he obtained his enlightenment, he decided to continue living until he had established a fourfold sangha of bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, laymen, and laywomen who disciples who were knowledgeable, competent, and capable, and able to carry on and pass down the Dhamma by understanding it properly and expressing it properly. And his choice was not to leave this life until after he'd accomplished that. So, you know, so that's like an example of how to think about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll call on Richard.
Thank you, Ed. So in terms of right effort and skillful and wholesome, you know, thoughts, words, and actions, the Buddha says that when you achieve that, you have a clear conscience So a person with a clear conscience is at rest. So with your mind being at rest, you can then start approaching the tranquilizing and focused and contemplative activity of the next stage of the path in terms of the four satipatthanas. And in terms of the four satipatthanas, you start out with the body in the four major, what they call deportments, and I've heard that used, walking, standing, sitting, lying down. And you touched upon this. What you notice in that is not just that you're concentrating on these things, but what you're supposed to see is the three characteristics. You can only walk so long. You can only stand so long. You can only sit so long. You can only lie down so long. Then you have to sit up again, maybe walk. Then you have to, or stand. Then you have to walk. And this is showing you anicca, that things are constantly changing, and then you apply the other characteristics to get deeper insight. And when you start seeing that major things like that, then you start looking at the small movements. Then you look at, that the body is not what it appears to be, a whole thing, right? It's not a solid thing. It's not solid gold or something. It's just made up of these parts. And those parts are made up of smaller, states of matter, et cetera, like that. And it kind of goes on in that way. And then so you kind of do the same thing with sensations. And then with the chittas, you want to reach the higher chittas, like Buddha says. He knows a concentrated mind is a concentrated mind, right? He knows a liberated mind is a liberated mind. You're trying to elevate your mind, and strive for those higher abhicittas, those higher states of mind. And in conjunction with analyzing the Dhamma, which then ultimately, takes you over the edge to complete enlightenment or panavimukti. Now, in terms of just an added thing, being sick and trying to make a decision, when you were saying just let the body do its thing, my impression was your main thing was like just the simplicity of the body. It's breathing and it needs some food now, it needs some rest now. You're not taking it too seriously, but you're not beating yourself, up about it or anything like that. You're again that state of consciousness, that restful mind. You know what I mean? So the body is there, and it's just kind of going along. And the example of Ayya Sobhana, I believe she was an extremely advanced bhikkhuni, wasn't she? I mean, that's my impression from things I heard about her and stuff like that. So for a person at that level to make a decision, like, I think that trying to go down the medicinal remedy way might be way too distracting and everything, and maybe I should just let my mind settle out and let the body, pass away, when it does. Might be a little different from an average person who hasn't reached, such a high state of insight, right? And but regardless, I think it's important to maintain, through the skillful means, to get a clean conscience, which will allow you to, maintain a relaxed attitude, which then carries over into the next path factors. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
So virtue affected by the desire for existence or affected by the delusion of the self, you can still be a good person, and you want to go to heaven, or you want to have a good reputation or something like that. So it's still good, but it's not as good as the goodness of one who is moving towards non-delusion and moving towards wisdom. That's a different kind of a different kind of goodness.